I think we're live again. Something happened. Oh, Bella. But yeah, we're back. I'm going to get A.M. back on here, and we will start the show. That's what happens when you have a live show. Things happen. But this is our third show. I'm so excited to talk about super couples today. Hello.
Hi.
I had your interview on while I was making dinner really quickly. And
man, you multitask.
I was, and I was like, oh, I'm learning so much. I don't have to ask a million questions today. I already know. I came in with some foreknowledge about how your day's been. Welcome. Congratulations. For anyone that doesn't know, Miss A.M. McPherson here debuted her first novel today, The Guardian's Daughter. It is available right now. I'm excited to get my copy. Apparently it's going to be signed by the author. I'm so excited. So, gosh, how are you feeling?
It's been a great day. I've surpassed my sales goals I wanted to hit.
Awesome.
I've had amazing support with everybody on Instagram and Facebook, and I think my son is about to crash this live stream. Yes,
that's okay. My dog already did, so we're good.
He's doing Mia.
Yeah, it's okay.
Babe, will you go downstairs, please? Oh, okay. So my son's going to join us for.
That's totally fine. He's had to share you with your book in the world today.
Yes, I know. And this little dude's been there every step of the way. Okay. I'm going to take a minute break. Let me go.
Totally. Yeah, I'll just sit here and talk. It's totally fine. This is what happens when you have a live.
Yeah, this is what would happen when you also have a little 4-year-old running around.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, she's going out to take care of Mr. Richard. Let's talk really quick. This is our third episode of What's Your Superpower? Today's topic is super couples. And one thing that really kind of got my brain going today was thinking about it in not just a romantic way, but also thinking about comic book characters that are dependent on each other, and their character arcs are dependent on each other. Like, you couldn't have that character without the other character. And one example I used was Batman and Joker. Now, if any of you have seen The Killing Joke, it's a DC, I think it's an animated movie, but I'm sure it's also a comic. The Killing Joke, in it, the Joker really pushes Batman and really forces him to kind of confront his more violent tendencies. You got it? You got it all? I was just talking about another way to look at super couples, which I was kind of thinking about today, and not only just a romantic liaison, but comic book characters that are so, their character arcs are so intertwined with another that you can't, they are dependent as a character. And one example I used was Batman and Joker.
Yeah, 100%.
In The Killing Joke, he really forces Batman to confront his really dark demons, and how, they aren't so different, and that Batman in a lot of ways is dependent on Joker. Highly recommend The Killing Joke if you haven't seen or read that comimic. So, but anyway.
Just one where he hits him with some kind of gas or something, and he becomes the Joker. Is that The Killing Joke with Batman?
The Killing Joke, the one, and I did not read the comic. I watched the animated movie, and that one is really dark, and I think there's even, trigger warning there, I think there's even a rape of Jim Gordon's daughter, or a brutal beating, and then Batman and him have this final showdown in an abandoned fair, and he goes through a House of Mirrors kind of final showdown, and the whole premise is how heroes, Janine Batts says Batgirl has something bad happen to her. I haven't watched it recently, but it defined for me how integral villains, when we talked about last week, are so integral to the hero story, and how in a lot of ways you can't have one character without the other, which segue into my number 3 pick. This is why I chose this pick. I chose Bruce Banner and the Hulk. you can't have one without the other. They are a super couple.
Yeah, I
You know
didn't think
what I
about
mean? Like, they're not romantic. I mean, self-love is great, but they're not romantic, but they are a super couple. You can't have Bruce Banner without well, you can, but then it's just Bruce Banner. And I love quantum science, but still, he's the Hulk. He's the Hulk. That's what he tells us with that superhero story. So yeah, I'm excited to hear your picks, though. I have a feeling that Smallville might be mentioned. Just going to put it out there.
You never know, right?
You never know. You never know. But yeah, what's your number 3 pick for super couples?
So, my pick 3 is actually my number 3.
It's okay. It's been a long day. It's been a long day for you.
I promise. I got this. It's actually a newer one because actually kind of going off a little bit what I talked about last week and just looking deeper into things.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn.
Oh!
Yeah. I actually today I had a moment while my son was at school, and my husband and I, we watched the first episode of the Harley Quinn show on, I think it's HBO Max,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Is that the animated series?
Yeah, it's animated. It is not safe for kids.
No.
At all. No. Let me tell you, it opens up, spoiler alert, it opens up with the Joker skinned some guy's face and is wearing it, acting like him, and I'm like, holy cow. First you don't realize it until he rips it off, and then they do some silly things with it, which is like, this is silly, but they're like, oh, this is gory as heck. So it starts off first with Joker and Harley Quinn together, but then, of course, Joker kind of goes off of how Joker loves Batman, he can't again. And it goes into that because pretty much in the first episode, again, spoiler alert, if you want to watch this, close your ears off for a minute, but it actually goes into the Joker making a choice between Batman and Harley Quinn, and he chooses Batman, which Harley Quinn's then finally realized after Poison Ivy has been telling her this whole time, because Poison Ivy's been so supportive and no, you need to get away from Joker, he's not good for you, and good for you, and she broke Harley Quinn out of prison, out of Arkham Asylum, and is doing all these things for her. Yeah, and finally she's like, she does this whole crazy thing to make Harley understand just how Joker is not good for you. And finally it registers with her. But this whole time there's Poison Ivy being this great supportive friend right now. But I know they also have known to have a romantic interest as well, because she treats Harley Quinn better than Joker ever did. This whole time, that's one thing I know a lot of people romanticize Joker and Harley Quinn's relationship a lot.
It's actually pretty toxic.
Yeah, and it kind of scares me, when I hear, people comparing themselves, the relationship with that. I'm just like, that's not a good thing. You really
when they do that, I really want to hope that they're leaning into the sexy craziness of Jared Leto, and is it Margot Robbie that plays Harley? That they had a brief. They were Joker and Harley Quinn together. They they brought cool back to that couple, I feel like. But in the comics and all of the DC movies, because I love the DC animated movies, that's where I'm at. Their relationship is not good. And the Joker's quite a nasty character, and he's not the person capable of a loving relationship,
Yeah. That's the thing, don't get me wrong, they're all villains. They've all killed people. They've all done not good things. Yes. But you know what? At least let's have some healthy relationships in these bad characters. What I mean? But it makes sense to, villains wouldn't have necessarily maybe the best supportive relationships, but there's just something about Joker and Harley Quinn that I've always been like, this is just not okay by any levels for me.
And again,
you said, they are just kind of these cool characters who are together, but in most of it though, Joker, is highly abusive to Harley Quinn, doesn't care for her. He clearly wants to manipulate her. Whereas with, like I said, Poison Ivy's always been, she has a hard time being close to people, and that's one reason why she's so close to her plans, because she hates people. But Harley Quinn.
I get it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I get it.
But her Harley Quinn have always had this great friendship, and Harley Quinn's helped her get through a lot, being a psychologist and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of funny. In this show, they kind of touch on the base that about Harley Quinn being a psychologist, and Poison Ivy's like, what would you tell yourself in this about this relationship? But but together they're just this perfect supportive. Poison Ivy truly cares for her, and Harley Quinn cares for her. So it's like, I love it. I can't I want to hopefully watch more of this show on HBO.
Yeah, you're inspiring me to watch more of it.
Watch it, of course, but no, it's animated, but it's kind of funny because I knew my husband warned me that it was going to be a little more graphic. But you're used to when you watch animated stuff.
I know, especially the animated part throws you off.
Yeah, usually it's lighthearted and silly or what. There might be some dark stuff, of course, but yeah, it's brutal, off the go. It was oh, this feels strange, but it's really good. I at least off of the first episode, I recommend watching it if you happen to be a fan. Decent, all that.
Yeah, it's good. I've only seen a few episodes, but I remember thinking it was really refreshing and interesting. The whole take on all of those characters. And again, Harley Quinn is a character that did not exist in the comics. She came about from the 1990s Batman animated series. She's not an original to the comics. You know what I mean? So I feel like they're crafting who she is and her relationship as they go along. And in the 1990s, she is very much just a set piece for the Joker. And there is and it's a children's show, so it shouldn't be digging into relationships and abusiveness. But as adults, we are now, the kids that watch that show are adults now, and we're like, the relationship wasn't that healthy. Here. Yeah, totally. And then, just circling back to the Hulk, too, we had that whole kind of arc with him in the last few Marvel movies. I'm assuming you've seen Endgame and Infinity War.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because Professor Hulk. Have you seen Shang-Chi yet? I don't want to.
Not yet.
Okay. There's a spoiler for Hulk in there, and I don't want to talk about it if y'all haven't seen it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But
I want to leave a message to me later because spoilers don't bother me. They have
I'll totally message you later.
They have an opposite effect on me. Usually spoilers make me I need to know this now.
Yeah, I need to know. But so in Infinity War and Endgame, he has this whole arc where basically his two disparate personalities become one in Professor Hulk, and then in Infinity War, he had that failure of Hulk coming forth during really key battle moments, and it's the whole time we as the audience are like, what's going on? And it's a little bit of
the whole thing where Iron Man's like, don't embarrass me in front of the wizards.
Don't embarrass me in front of the wizards.
Yeah, what are you doing? Come on, the wizard's watching.
And it was actually really interesting. I really liked the arc they took Hulk on because of Paramount's rights and the movie rights, they can't do anything with the title Hulk in it, which is dashing my hope of Hulk Wolverine. Just saying. It would be all just fights, you guys. How can this be not a win anyway?
Yeah.
But yeah, so moving on to number 2. Oh, what is your number 2 pick?
Well, I think my number 2 will not be that surprising. It is Clark Kent and Lois Lane. I'm just saying. Yes.
There's nothing wrong with peanut butter and jelly. It's still good. You know what I mean? That is the food pyramid version of super couples. You know what I mean? You can't talk about super couples without talking about Superman and Lois Lane.
It is what it is, but there are some versions I like better than others. Now, this is probably sacrilegious to everybody when I say this, but the Crystal Reeves and is it Margaret Knight who played her?
I'm not sure.
I think it's Margaret Knight. I could be horribly wrong on that. If I am, my bad. I'm bad at remembering names sometimes. But I know a lot of people picture them as the perfect Superman and Lois Lane couple, and I actually didn't feel the same way about them. I mean, they were great in their roles, but I don't know. It didn't click with me too well. Now, my top favorite, of course, is going to be Clark Kent's Lois Lane from Smallville. I mean, It is. I love the whole fact that they bring her in earlier. Clark knew her for Daily Planet, and had the fun twist about her being Chloe's cousin. And of course, during this whole thing, Chloe had had issues because she always had like this crush on Clark and whatnot. But I really loved Erica Durance. I think that's how you say her last name. I thought she was such a great Lois Lane, and I loved her spirit during the whole thing. And of course, I thought her and Tom Mullane did really well together. I will say I felt like Tom Mullane had a little more chemistry with Kristen Cruick, who played Lana Lang. But it was always that one thing where I always knew the relationship was going to be doomed no matter what. And
that's the only thing about Lana Lang. Also, what's with the L's? Superman only goes people with L's.
But like Lana was one of those, like, I felt like their chemistry was on point, but they honestly never worked well as a couple.
She seemed really whiny and had unrealistic expectations. And also, I really kind of liked her with Lex. I feel like she helped Lex a lot.
Yeah, see, like I hated that storyline in a sense because I was like, of course, Lana is going to come between these guys. Like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
But how manipulated Lana could be at points, I almost felt like she was a good match with Lex, but of course, Lex had his own issues. Maybe I'm going to use Lex and Lana for my top two.
Can I ask you really quick? What is your opinion? Because there are some comics where Superman is with Wonder Woman. Especially for those DC movies.
That's actually something I talked about with my husband earlier because, it was going to be Superman and Lois Lane, but I was like, I know there's also Superman and Wonder Woman. I guess technically they make a great power couple. I mean, you can't get too much more powerful than those two together. But I think that's another reason why it's not ever been like, I wouldn't even say they were in like my top 10. I think I need to say that. So I just feel like it's a little almost too cliche in a sense. And then at the same point, they're so powerful together. And what I like about Clark Kent with like Lois Lane, a normal human, that kind of to me ties into like he has that humanity, even though he's technically an alien, it gives him another level of humanity that he wants to be with a human, and plus it kind of ties in, he was raised by humans, especially like in Smallville, that keeps him grounded, whereas, he can easily not stay grounded, but Lois kind of grounds him into the reality that he should be grounded into, because he could easily just all of a sudden lose. I mean, clearly there's a lot of versions where he does lose it and he's not grounded, and I mean, just wreck the whole entire world, that's why, like, I've never really. I mean, it's not like I hate them by any means, but
they are too powerful, though. You're right.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like, I don't know. It's like, oh yeah, of course, the two most powerful, almost consider like two top powerful gender, couples get together. Like,
It's in the cartoons, at least in one run, or the animated movies, at least in one run, it did seem really plausible. But then later on, they did just drift apart. They probably got bored. I don't know. Janine Bat says Batman and Diana, and that's one I am interested to see, especially on the big screen, because I do really love the actress that plays Diana in Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. Oh my God, she's gorgeous. I could watch her on the screen all day.
How do you feel about the newest Wonder Woman? What was
I really wanted to like it so much, and it wasn't good.
Going on. I wish they would be able to just focus on like one villain.
Yeah.
And like we kept getting slapped with 50 million things, and then we had a ex-boyfriend come back, possess another guy. Like,
I hated that. This is my thing. Okay, this is Tina's soapbox on Wonder Woman 1984. You opened the Pandora. Okay, Wonder Woman 1984. She is not a raper. And I'm sorry, what she did with Steve and the guy who was inhabiting Steve's body, it was still another dude's body. It is not okay. We wouldn't be okay if it was a woman. Why are we okay? It's because he's a dude. It is not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. How did that get past the writers, the screen audiences? You had that on the shelf for 2 years. How could you ruin Wonder Woman? It's the only good DC movie. End scene. That's my soapbox. Whew, I get really upset.
I know, like when I first watched that scene, I was like, actually, like the morning after, all of a sudden I was like, wait, did they? Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. Oh, it was the other dude the whole time. The whole like, how did he transform? Like, is it really like Steve? No, she just sees Steve in this guy's body. technically that other guy's body did not give her consent. So technically,
it's so icky. And, I feel like they try to cover up when she's just like, all I see is you, Steve. I'm like, no, that's not how any of this works. Let's get the diagram and show you. Like, this is, I know.
Let's start at the beginning. Let's start with consent. Because the guy might have been like, please, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, use my body for the duration of this movie. But he never got to say that. They just got to get up in his apartment and try on his clothes. But the first movie was good. The only
part I enjoyed about the 1984 movie was the Invisible Jet. Like, I thought that was a sweet little tie-in, cool. Him being a pilot and all that. Like, I enjoyed that whole scene, but that legit was the only scene I was like, I enjoyed. The rest of it, I like that one.
I also appreciated, I was really concerned that Cheetah was going to look way bad. You know what I mean? I was so concerned about that. I was thinking about, like, Thundercats. Bad.
Or Cats, just that new musical.
Yeah, or Cats, because Cats had come out recently, and we all know how that went.
Oh, crap.
So, they did not make the couples list. Diana and the dude that Steve inhabited for 1984 did not make the couples list.
Just done away with that whole storyline. I don't know. Like, I don't think
Steven back. Like, it would be even better if she found someone else that died or turned out to be just magical, but not be magical. Is that hard?
Like, why did we do this? But like you said, I think what amazes me so often with movies and stuff is, like you said, they go through screen audiences, they go through all
test audiences. How did that get? How did no one say, you know what here's my hot take on Wonder Woman, not a raper. That's my hot take. That's all we need. Just need a quick rewrite.
Yeah, I just.
Anyway, if you just joined us, we're talking about Wonder Woman 1984 and how it was ruined.
But yes, Superman and Lois, though, they're better. And I've heard the new TV show is good, and I have to admit, I'm a huge fan of Lois and Clark from back in the day. I love Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher.
I love a Dean Cain. He's like a comfy sweater. I loved him on Lucifer too, because he was on Lucifer for a few seasons.
Was he? But yeah, he did. Man, there's something about all the Supermans on Lucifer. But it was actually funny. The first time I watched that show was my freshman year at college. So this is like end of 2006, beginning of 2007. And I spent literally about $130 on the 4 DVD sets of Lois and Clark. I wanted to watch it that bad. And I binge watched the whole first season in one night. I went to my psychology class and I fell asleep because I watched Lois and Clark all night. But, like, I enjoyed their chemistry. It was great. I love Lois and Clark. There were some points, don't get me wrong, that could have, whatever. I hated how it ended because I feel like it left open this huge hole because it's pretty much like this baby just showed up and it was like, what, baby? But
did they know the series was going to end, or were they going to do a movie or anything like that?
They actually, what I read is they weren't planning on it ending, so they had a script kind of going, like they were going to explain everything and what happened, but it got cut, and sometimes that just happens. The ratings were dropping at this point, and it's kind of almost like with Gilmore Girls in a sense too. Now, completely different random topic, but
I never watched that, but I heard about it.
They weren't sure that it was going to end, but the way they ended the 7th season, they left it kind of like close enough, it's still open, but they weren't sure it was going to end yet. So I hate it when they do that to shows when it's like, oh, we're not sure. So it's like they got to set it up in a way, but I think at that point they didn't realize it's going to get cut at all. So
oh wow, that's too bad.
And I've heard the new Superman and Lois, I think it is really good, which I want to watch too at some point. But yeah,
I don't like the guy that cast for Superman. I don't see him as Superman. I'm sorry, Henry Cavill is Superman forever for me. The end. Sorry.
Mine would be Tom Welling. I have to admit, Henry Cavill I think would be my second, but mine's always like, yeah, Tom Welling. But I know you won't. But I want you to. And get Michael Rosenbaum. Get them all back. Just do it.
What is Michael Rosenbaum? What is he doing these days? Are you on the Pulse?
Because Actually, when I met him at
You're
this one
welcome
convention I
to.
went to a couple of years ago, he was talking about his podcast, and he'll interview actually people who are on Smallville from time to time, because like it seems like all of them stay pretty close because they travel to conventions like
Oh
together
yeah.
a lot. But he interviews other people and talks about random stuff. So I know that's like his main thing. I think is just doing this podcast and then going to conventions. I feel
Good
like that's
for
all he
him.
really does.
That sounds like a good life. As long as
Yeah,
he's
I
happy.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I made a certain amount of money, I'd be like, I'm just gonna chill back and do
Mhm.
what I'm good for, you know. But so I need to know though, what is your number two?
Ooh, my number two, I've been waiting to talk about and not over talk about the last two episodes because it's Vision and Scarlet Witch. And I know
Oh,
that's in the zeitgeist right now. Do you have your oh, she's gorgeous. Look at her.
she has the book. Oh,
Oh yes. Oh
yes.
yes.
So basically,
That's
it's like how she
beautiful.
looks at the end of the show. Like
It really is.
I pre-ordered her like 6 months ago. It took too long for her to get
Wow.
here.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, now you're
But yeah,
together forever. So that's
we're
all that
together.
matters. We're together forever.
Yeah.
But what I love about the relationship and also like just the story crafting around the relationship is the Mind Stone. The Mind Stone is what connects them. The Mind Stone is in what's Vision's head. You know what I mean. Is in his head. It's been a long day for me too.
It's right there.
It's the stone that's right here. I will point.
The shiny thing.
The shiny thing. And that was also in the scepter. That was Loki's scepter. And that's also what Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, was experimented on by Hydra. And so that kind of unlocked her powers. Obviously, she already had some because she's a mutant.
She's such a mutant.
She's technically a mutant, but
Yeah.
I think with
Since we're
her
not.
thing. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No,
Oh.
you're fine. Go ahead. This is your time.
I think, and obviously the MCU is changing right now because they did just get rights to all of the X-Men and those properties. So finally the Marvel family is more together than it's ever been, except for Spidey. So they weren't really at liberty to use the term mutant in the movies at all. And so they've really kind of shied away from that. So I think what the MCU canon is now is that Scarlet Witch had her chaos magic, but the experimentation with the Mind Stone really opened up her channels or whatever, because she is a Nexus being. She's the same in any multiverse, which to me is just like a mind-blowing thing. She's this really overpowered, omnipotent kind of, not omnipotent, but kind of omnipotent. When she gets into her powers and she gets her book open and stuff, she's stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme.
Piece of pie real quick.
Oh, you should. Congratulations on that pie, by the way.
Sorry, it's sitting there. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'll have a piece.
You should. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're eating pie while we talk about super couples. I think that's the most appropriate thing. I hope other people are eating pie while we talk about it.
Everyone's gone buy a pie this week.
You should.
Do it.
Absolutely.
Send me pictures of your pie, and I will share it to my stories. Just do it.
Yes. Yes. And then Vision is also a really interesting character because he's an amalgam of Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Jarvis, Ultron, and the Mind Stone. So he's an amalgam. He's a crazy being too that's sentient. And I think I don't know if you've seen What If, but there is a What If that has Vision and Scarlet Witch in it. I don't want to say any more in case you haven't seen it.
The first two of them. I've seen.
Okay, I think it's episode 5 is the one you will see them.
Okay. I'm trying to watch the second one. I can't believe I'm.
The second episode is actually my favorite one so far in the What If series.
Yeah.
T'Challa.
Oh my god.
Lord. Oh, so good.
Oh my gosh, when I watched it, I was like, man, that would have been so much better if that happened.
Right? And I know. And then DM says, I love Vision as Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany's amazing. Again, Marvel with the casting. They really do a good job with casting.
They do amazing.
They do a great job. And I think that's essential to storytelling. You really need someone who wants to engage with the lore. Like, it's important that you can nerd out about this stuff because people like us are really invested in it as well. But
actually, one thing I have to say, I was disappointed when I went to the convention and met some of the people from Smallville, and they did a panel.
Mhm.
it amazed me how many of them actually, just like the girl who played like Supergirl and stuff, had like no clue really about the character she was playing. Because people were asking her about different things, and she was like, "Oh, I really don't know." And that was a little disappointing for me to hear that. Like, I didn't really hear that necessarily from like Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, but like a couple of them random like side people. And I
That's
know
her
the Supergirl
job.
character in there, I was never too big of a fan of. I mean, she was fine, but yeah, when she said that, I was like, oh, that's why I never resonate with you that well, because
Mm-hmm.
you
Didn't do
don't
your
care. It was
homework.
just like, yeah, because sometimes it really is people. It's just a paycheck to them. They're not
Mm-hmm.
really into it. And like you were saying, you know, the people who played the Marvel, all these Marvel actors and stuff, they inhabit that
Mm-hmm.
character, and that makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. I think at this point too, if you get a gig at a Marvel movie, that's like the holy grail of acting because it's all top notch. So
Yeah.
if Feige invites you in to play Moon Knight or something, you have to graciously say, yes, sir, and I will read all of the appropriate materials because if you
Yeah,
don't know your
a great
character,
pull of every comic about that
yeah,
character.
like if you don't,
Yeah.
like how can you convince me that you are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anywho.
No.
So yeah, Vision and Scarlet Witch, I think their connection's really interesting. I think because
Mm-hmm.
they're so powerful, they're very interesting. And again, in WandaVision, it really pushes the envelope in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
her being a hero or a villain. She's a little bit of both in the series. And then so is Vision, honestly, by the end of it,
Yeah.
with White Vision and the ship of Theseus conversation, like, and is that really still Vision because he's missing pretty vital parts of himself? Again, we said he's an amalgam of so many different, really strong, interesting characters.
Mm-hmm. Can
So
I say when the White Vision like showed up, that legit terrified me because I'm just like,
mm-hmm.
this is not Vision, and I mean clearly it wasn't because at that point he didn't have anything of his past self in him at that
Mm-hmm.
point. But it was terrifying because it showed like if Vision didn't have that like almost humanity sense to him or care
Mm-hmm.
about humanity, like. You want to talk about Superman's friend? Well, Vision could. I mean, he has a freaking mind stone. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have that part to him. So, like we talked before, like I absolutely love it when both Visions have that conversation, and it's just a battle of the minds. And
Mm-hmm.
like, but when he gives them back the memories and everything, and that's why I'm so curious where it's going to go with. Like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
is he going off the kind of, is he going to go think
And
about things and come back, or is he
yeah,
going to do something
and
else? Or
here's my question too. When Hex Vision, put his hands on White Vision and broke through those memories, does that mean that White Vision is now as legitimate as Hex Vision or even Vision before all this? Like, because
yeah,
he has those memories,
what
does
is
that
he
make
now?
him him?
Mm-hmm. Well, see, the only thing that concerned me though is like I did think like, okay, if he truly was his past self and he's unlocked now,
Mm-hmm.
why did he just take off? You know what I'm? Because clearly
Get some
he
personal
he
space
loved
away from
Wanda.
Tyler Hayward, who
Yeah,
is a
I
very
mean,
flat villain, poorly written villain. Sorry. Really
I
good,
was just
girl. Really good. I just feel like they're human villains like Tyler Hayward. I'm like, we all knew he was a villain from the beginning. You know what I mean? Took over while you guys were away. Anyway, sorry. I'll get off my soapbox.
no, I love soapboxes. I have one on my back all the time ready. You have no idea. I'll be at work. I think guys can get my soapbox out. You're all gonna listen, okay? Cool.
I'm about to drop some knowledge.
Boom.
So I don't want to wait any longer. Talk to me about your number one super couple.
Okay, so my number one. This is gonna be mind blowing. It is Ember and Aiden from my book, The Guardian's Daughter. Hashtag shameless self-promotion going on.
Love it.
But
Love it.
they have to be my favorite because I mean I created them.
We've been with them a long time.
Yeah.
But
in all seriously though, I'm trying to think how I can talk about them without revealing too much what I say about them. But what I love about them, they are younger. So they have a lot of learning and growing to do. But Ember isn't scared to say how she feels about things, and Aiden, he's willing to take the time and listen and try to figure out the feelings and emotions together with her. He's not one of those guys who just shuts down emotionally and doesn't want to talk about emotions. But it's mainly because he's gone through therapy and he knows that's what they need to do to work through things. And, so together they just make this great couple. They're both they're pretty strong with their abilities, but
they have abilities, right? They have superpowers. Because your whole book, there's a superpower. People have abilities in the world you crafted in the Guardian stock. Yeah.
Ember, she can manipulate thermal energy, so she can do like heat blast. Of course, she doesn't technically create fire, but she creates that heat, but she can cause things to set on fire.
Great person to have at a barbecue. Great person to have at a barbecue.
Yes. You need to cook a cheese for you? She's your girl.
Yeah. She's your girl.
And then, Aiden, he can manipulate the electric energy like out of the air and all that. So he can use it to help create like force fields, energy blasts, lightning, different things like that. But his design, actually, I think I've mentioned this before when you brought up Storm as one of your favorite heroes. His design was actually slightly based off of her, but he doesn't control the weather. It's just he can do like lightning, electricity type abilities. But when he uses his powers, his eyes glow and everything, like how she does. Yeah, and all that jazz.
Glowing eyes in my book too.
Yeah, and like Ember, she when she uses her abilities, her eyes will look like lava almost to kind of reflect that thermal energy going through her. So whereas Aiden in the book, he is embracing his future with wanting to be a hero and work. He's always been a very hard worker and determined to be on this path. Whereas Ember, so many people expect her to follow that path because of her parents. They were two great guardians who were murdered when she was younger. So many people expected her to follow her parents' footprint. But she's always been so resistant towards that because she wants to make sure whatever choice she makes is because she wants to make it, not what she feels everyone else wants her to do. So that's one reason she decided to hide for a long time, because there was just all this horrible pressure on her with the press and everything wanting her to do these things. But eventually she knows she needs to move on with her life. So she goes off to college. That's where she meets Aiden. There's teenage angst, there's romance, there's drama, there's mystery, there's suspense. It's...
Omni says electricity is my favorite power. So
yes, it's fun. When I was first done with him, when I was looking into I think it's like this power Wikipedia I've used quite a few times to try to figure out. Yeah,
I didn't know that existed. That's a writer tip right there. Power Wikipedia.
Yeah. So if you're writing people with superpowers, they're seriously it's like this power Wikipedia.
I want to look that up.
Website. But I went on there looking for electricity, energy, manipulation. And I never thought about force fields before, but that's an ability they can do. And so I tried looking into that to make sure that it was realistic for his character and stuff. But then that brought me to a point where, okay, well, if he can just have these force fields, what makes him vulnerable if he always can just throw these things up? So I had to tweak a couple of things a little bit, and I gave him a vulnerability, which I think works and everything with the book. But they're pretty much, like I said, these young couple who have both have very traumatic pasts, and they've gone through things differently, but they come together trying to learn. But, pretty much at the end, though, because Aiden is hiding a secret from her, and it's also a secret that's tied to her, so he's always fearful of her finding out about it. But, eventually, and there's a reason why he keeps a secret, not just because he's necessarily scared, of her finding out. It's more like he was instructed about to never tell anybody this thing, so... But, it's the whole time them growing together and learning and just working through their problems together. And that was a big thing I always wanted to have, try to make sure I did in this book is, of course, they have their struggles and challenges, but have a healthy relationship.
Show a healthy relationship doing that.
Yeah, what you should try to do. And it's okay if you get upset and angry about things, but what's not okay. Sometimes, I forget if it's been you I've vented about, but, I love the reference back to, with Twilight and even the Joker and Harley Quinn, sometimes how some of these things get romanticized, and I'm like, no,
it's not a healthy relationship, and it's very fetishized in our culture, especially Twilight. Edward's a stalker. I feel like I've talked about this with DM and you.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think it gets me so angry about it because I'm gonna be 100% honest with everybody. back in the day, I did read Twilight, and I did like it at first.
Me too.
And then I'm one of those people, though, who got older and then reread it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a horrible thing for young girls to read.
Dating in my 20s. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but back then you don't really know much better. And I think that's another kind of driving factor for me with this book. It's like, I want to have a good, healthy relationship for young girls to read about and know, like, this is how relationships should hopefully work. Not 100%, but you know what I mean? Like, these are the aspects you should have, not, oh, it's romantic that he watches me while I'm sleeping without my consent. Like,
yes,
no.
I was saying, he shouldn't be watching you sleeping, step one. Let's just start with that. If your body is inhabited by a spirit of his past girlfriend, he shouldn't sleep with you until he's gotten both of your consent. Wonder Woman, that's for you. I'm just saying, Wonder Woman. I'm just saying, this is day one shit. Oh, yeah. I love that. I mean, I love that that was a goal for you when you were writing this, is to actually put on page a young relationship that's healthy. That's like, okay, we disagree. This is how people disagree and move on with their lives. We have a conversation about it. We understand each other and we move on. It's not this emotional wedge forever, which everything seems so dramatic like that when you're young.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just like again, Twilight. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make this the Twilight talk, but it's like, you know, in the second book when he dumps her, and then there's 3 blank chapter pages. Oh, geez. I'd like to take a 1-minute break.
No problem. No problem. We're gonna wrap up anyway. Yeah, you're totally fine. I'm gonna use this time when she's away to talk about my book. We both started this program because we wanted to celebrate our love for superheroes and also use it as a vehicle to show how superheroes have influenced our writers, our writing journey rather. And obviously Superman, Lois Lane, that kind of really healthy give and take, because I think that's an example is Superman and Lois of a healthy superhero relationship, healthy-ish, much more so than Joker and Harley Quinn. Even Batman and Catwoman aren't really that healthy of a relationship, to be honest. And, you know, they're not going to get popcorn on the weekend watching a movie, you know?
Yeah. I know, I thought about them actually, like I said, for like a hot second, but I'm like, no, like, they're more of just a fling thing to me than an actual...
They are. They're I wish they'd worked out because I think they would be good together, but they both have so many issues and they're not going to therapy, let's be honest. So.
Yeah. But we need to get to your number one.
Well,
need to do.
I pulled a page from your book, literally, and I picked my super couple as a couple I spent 7 years with. I just finished today formatting the 2nd edition of The Anchor of Time. So my favorite super couple is Vincent and Renata from my book. I definitely think that Scarlet Witch and Vision, if you enjoy their relationship dynamic and their power dynamic, literally their superpower dynamic, I think you'll enjoy this book. It's got a lot of time travel, dimensional shift, but basically, you know, Renata is someone who doesn't realize that she's special, kind of like Wanda Maximoff didn't really ever know she was special until she has an event in her life that kind of unlocks that ability or what have you. And Vincent is a kind of a tragic character, a lot like Vision, in that he, you know, is an amalgam of all of these experiences and things that have come together to create him, but what is really him? You know what I mean? So a crisis of who am I? You know, and he's stuck in this deteriorating time loop that's robbing him of his memory. You know what I mean? So, you know, we got to get these guys together so they can save the world and all that stuff. But their dynamic in and of themselves is that they're very extraordinary with their superpowers, but it doesn't matter what dimension or time they're in, they always seem to fall in love with each other. So I just love that kind of slow burn, epic romance. I love to believe in true love across the cosmos. I love the idea of love as one thing, you know, I'm going to be a little interstellar right now, but love is that one constant that we can feel and perceive, you know, regardless of what language we speak, where we're from, who we voted for, and how we dress. You know what I mean? Like we all understand what it means to feel love and belonging. And I think, you know, taking that and putting on a cosmic scale is very fascinating to me. You put weird cosmic conundrums like black holes and quantum computers and stuff like that. And at its heart, it's about love and belonging and how, you know, love is a constant in this universe. So that is my super couple.
A little bit shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, totally. But also, you know, just talking about and reflecting on all of the superheroes and villains and super couples that we've mentioned in this show. The Guardian's daughter wouldn't exist without them. The Anchor of Time wouldn't exist without them. You know, art creates art. Everything's a remix. But, you know, and if you want to go, you know, full Joseph Campbell and go back to the archetypes of stories, you know, we all have this need to be told a story and emote into that story and relate to that story. And as a storyteller and as an indie author, that's our superpower, is that we can create these stories that touch people's lives and that they can engage with. So every day that I realize I'm a writer, I'm like, I have superpowers. And being a mom, you've shown your superpowers several times tonight. I love it. That's the beauty of a live show. What are you doing the rest of the night? I hope you're eating that pie and relaxing.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna finish the pie. I know I'm debating, like, I know I probably have a whole bunch more comments and stuff I need to respond to, but I literally have been doing it all day. So I'm like, I might need to take the night off. And then I think there's actually a photo idea I want to do for tomorrow's post, so I think I'm going to go on that with my husband.
That's fun. It's important to take breaks and to rest, especially after a big launch. Like, listen to that inner voice. Oh, so many writers don't take a break.
Earlier, there was a point earlier where I was like, I need to lay down for a minute, because you don't realize like how much you get caught up in checking stuff. And then, you know, I was refreshed. You know, I was trying to comment to everybody. So I'm like, I have a decent following, kind of, I guess. On Facebook.
Great following. You have a lot of engagement. You have a lot of people that love to engage with you. Myself,
like on Instagram, yes. And I, you know, on Instagram it's been crazy. Like, it's actually, I was hoping I would get some response, of course, but I wasn't expecting as much as I did get.
And I love that. I love that.
I know. You know, that really felt good, because it's like, wow, like, it's really...
This internet community is mighty. It's strong. Yeah. It's need support, for sure. I'm so happy that you've had a great experience with your launch.
Yeah. I actually had someone reach out to me. They're like, I need to know what you did, because you're literally all over Instagram, and I need that for my next launch. And I'm like, I just do what I do. I don't know.
Yeah, you disengaged. But I saw you had like an interview with a Schofield writer, I want to say, on her podcast. Yeah. And then you were on
it's not a podcast, but you do like an interview form, and she puts it on the website. Okay.
And then you were on...
sweetheart. She made sure to have it up for me today for release day, because at first she was like, you know, awesome. I don't know if I'll be able to get it done or soon. When I first put on, I was like, oh, you know, no worries about it, you know, whenever. Then when she saw my release date, she was like, oh, I'm really gonna try to do for you then. So like that meant a lot to me. Yeah. So,
and then you were on DM Sontag's show. Is it Tavern Talk now, or is it Books and Brews still?
Books and Brews. I think the Tavern Talk is when she has like 3 or 4 people on.
Okay. I have so many shows that can't keep track.
I know. Actually, I will let you know, she did kind of put a little bug in my ear about possibly doing a Taverns Talk, I think, with all 3 of us. So that's
that'd be fun. I'd love to do that. Oh, I think she said that in the comments. She said, we need to do us need to do a live sometime. I would love it. I'd love it. Yeah. You have to rein me in.
I mean, it's been so awesome to do this with you, because I really do love doing this, and it's so much fun to just nerd out with people who enjoy the same stuff. And, you know, we all share that common bond of doing this whole self-publishing thing, so we all can be like, girl.
Oh, and congrats to SJ. Yeah. Congrats to SJ Pratt, who announced today that she is officially going to be part of the Self-Published Club. Welcome, welcome. We're so excited for you and to see the 716. That's her work in progress. Well, I think I'm going to bid everyone adieu and let you get to your pie. And I'm going to go do whatever it is that I do when I'm not on camera. Stuff and junk. But yeah, this is the season finale. This definitely won't be the last episode of What's Your Superpower. This definitely won't be the last time you and I talk about nerdy stuff. Because I need to see all of those Funko Pops. Let's be honest.
I know. That's thought about doing it. I might try to do that in October. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we should just message each other and see what else we're talking about. All right, y'all. Good night from me and her.
And
Yep. And thank you so much for joining us on What's Your Superpower. We will be back, but we're signing off for September.
yes.
Bye.